Hi everyone, and welcome back to Dynamic Digital World. Today, oh wow, do we have some good news coming up. Firstly, why has it been nearly a year since the last episode? What have I been up to? Where are we going in the future? Secondly, of course, we are going to be discussing the AI wars. These AI wars are massive. They've been branded this by other media outlets. It's not my choice, unfortunately. But here we are. So, and then of course we also have a brand new development in the Microsoft Activision acquisition, which I personally am not sure if it's going to go through, even though analysts are saying it will do. I think it's a toss of a coin as to whether or not it will be going through in the end, but we will find out. So, let's get started. My name's Luke. This is Dynamic Digital World. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so firstly, I think I will give everyone a quick update. Long story short, it's really quite simple. I've been busy with schoolwork. I'm doing my A-levels currently, and they're in a couple of months. However, I did not want to wait a year to do another episode, so I'm doing one now. Also, the news is so exciting, and I did not have time to write an article on it instead. So, hey, this is the simplest option. So, very quickly, I've just been working very hard on my A-levels. Going well, in case anyone does actually wonder or care. They're going great. And I'm hoping to start with some more kind of up-to-date, consistent recording after my A-levels are done. So we're talking like midsummer, like early July maybe. Just depending on how things go and kind of what I'm doing around that time, as things are still a bit uncertain. But I am back. And I cannot wait to talk about the latest developments in AI with you, as well as the latest developments in gaming with Microsoft. We are also going to talk about Apple's latest devices. They released those so quietly, kind of a surprise. As well as the Google Pixel lineup and just a few other things that have kind of been developing over the last few months that I just want to boil down to one episode. And of course, the Samsung lineup will be there as well, although that's a simple rundown. So let's get started with the AI wars. Not my naming. Personally think that considering the state of the economy, state of the world right now, it's a bit of a bad naming scheme, but that is what the media coined it. It's everywhere from TechCrunch to TechRadar and everywhere in between. So that's what we're calling it apparently. So all it boiled down to is that basically in November of 2022, feels so weird that last year 2022, it does not feel like 2023. Anyway, in November of 2022, OpenAI, a company owned by Elon Musk, basically released this chatbot called ChatGPT. Now, what this chatbot does is it's basically got a load of data from multiple places across the world. It's being compiled into a massive data set, and then that data is essentially, from what I can understand, analyzed, and it learns how to write things in human form and answer specific questions that are asked in multiple different ways in similar ways. So, OpenAI, ChatGPT, awesome. I have used it for months now just for simple help and programming, getting a few notes down. Maybe if I miss something in class, I will generally ask ChatGPT. I have also just tested it. I've done a class at college, and then I've gone on ChatGPT and I've searched up the same thing as a test just to see. With my exam board as well, I mentioned my exam board, so it's not just giving me like the basics. And to be fair, most of the time it's exactly correct. But the thing is, if you just refresh it, sometimes the regenerated answer can actually be worse than the originally generated answer, which is not great, but hey, it is what it is. So, yeah. However, there was no access to the internet, and there still isn't access to the internet through OpenAI's ChatGPT. It cannot search the internet or do any searching on the internet or access anything from later than 2021, in fact. So, for example, it doesn't actually have knowledge of me stopping. I don't think it would have knowledge of the fact that I stopped my podcast, but it also doesn't have specific knowledge of the podcast. So when I typed in what is the podcast, it was correct, but then it also said that I talk about stock and I talk about like loads of other stuff that I just do not talk about. So I think it even said that like I promote crypto, which is not true, by the way, especially in this economy. I do not. But long story short, it is incorrect. Like it is incorrect at times, and that is why it's not as reliable. However, Microsoft Bing, the search engine that everyone kind of just laughs at because, well, it's not a good browser, has recently been upgraded with a ChatGPT-like function. They're not willing to talk about it exactly kind of whether it's using GPT-3, which powers ChatGPT, or it's using GPT 3.5, which is like an upgraded version of ChatGPT, or if it's using this ChatGPT 4.0, which is something that OpenAI are supposedly developing in the background but aren't really kind of talking about. So they just labeled it the Prometheus model, which is an interesting thing to label it. Yeah, I don't know why they have, but they have. And long story short, it's awesome. Google tried to announce their version of the same thing, however, their demo, they didn't fact check they either didn't fact check their demo, or they left in an error as big as the error that they left in on purpose. But either way, they lost like $100 million in their market value. But before we get on to the fact that Google have basically flopped, let's talk about Bing. Now, I signed up for the Bing AI preview thingy when it came out, basically. And to be fair, it only took me like a week before I was actually able to access it, which I think is quite impressive. I started searching exclusively on Bing, to be fair, so I think Microsoft kind of inferred that I was already a heavy Bing user. But I mean, to be fair, a week of using Bing is probably quite a heavy Bing user. I've spoken to a couple of people I know, and they say that the only time they use Bing is when they're trying to get to Google. Microsoft, please take notes. This is a chance. Do not squander it. But the new chat functionality is amazing. There was an example somewhere of there was a product on some website, and someone searched up. I think it's actually the company that made the product. In fact, yeah, no, it was Live Tech Tips. YouTube channel. They basically searched up how many LTT store backpacks can fit in the trunk or boot of a Tesla Model Y. I think it's a Model Y or Model X. Anyway, they searched it, and it then did multiple web searches. It did dimensions of LTT store backpack, and it used those dimensions, and then did dimensions of Tesla Model Y trunk or something, and then it used that information to give an estimate of how many backpacks could fit in. Just if you assumed it was completely flat and completely straight with no curves or any other shapes in it, then in the second paragraph, it decided that that wouldn't be accurate enough because of the way that a car boot is. It may have curves within it, and they don't know. Like this Microsoft Bing does not know the exact shape of the boot of a Tesla Model Y. It just has the dimensions. So it then did another search for a standard carry-on luggage item that you would take with you on a plane, and it got some information on how many of those could fit into a Tesla's boot/trunk, depending on where you are, if you're in the UK or US. And I am not kidding, it extrapolated the data from that information that it found on the internet, combined it with the calculation it had already done, to give you an overall estimate of how many you could realistically expect to fit in a Tesla's boot. That is incredible. I mean, just the fact that it was able to do multiple searches is awesome. Now, there are obviously some limitations. It's very, very fixated on kind of the exact words you give it. So if you search for a tracksuit, but the store called it a track jacket or something, that won't be found. Same for if you search for tracksuit bottoms and they're called track pants or something, it won't be found. That is just the way that it is. It's very precise for what you ask for it in an attempt to be as accurate as possible. Now, whilst this is cool, don't get me wrong, this is amazing. I saw it doing this and I was like, wait, what? And I was literally just, my jaw was open. I was amazed at what I was seeing. I was completely amazed by what I saw. However, this is also incredibly scary and it does need to be used responsibly. So, first, let's go over the benefits. So, easy to access information can be used to get quick information on things that are public knowledge. Crazy fast, like literally near instant accuracy. It was insane how quickly it could be typed in and give you a response. However, there are some major issues that will need to be sorted out by companies before releasing this sort of thing. The first one is accuracy of information. As it's in with ChatGPT and has already been experienced with Bing, this is far from perfect information. And I mean far from perfect technology. Like, the technology is awesome in concept, but in theory, it has a long way to go to be ready to be used in a day-to-day functionality. Microsoft Bing has already made multiple factual errors in a few things that I searched in it. I can't remember examples off the top of my head, but there have been some factual errors. It's also supposedly able to cite its sources. However, the sources it cites then don't actually appear to be giving the same answer that Bing says it's giving, if that makes sense. So Bing says it's giving an answer in accordance to what's on the site, but then it's really not, because nothing like that is even on the site. And it will just basically make stuff up, but it will be there somewhere else on the internet and you will find it. And if it hasn't actually linked the right source, then it's also got issues with referencing, with kind of understanding what's on the product page. So, like, it almost managed to make it look like it was actually like scanning an image to get information about a product, but in one example, but then in a follow-up example, it kind of showed that it isn't. So I can't say that it does scan images. If it does, then that's awesome, but I do not believe it does. Like, you can see where this Microsoft Bing integration is very similar to ChatGPT, right? Like, it's very confident in the answer it gives you. It's like, the answer is, it is. It's not maybe. However, it's very confidently wrong. That is the best term to have for it. Confidently wrong. It will tell you something like it's complete fact, but it can be incorrect. So do not believe everything you search with it. And Microsoft say, do not just trust blindly. double check the sources, because like you could get a completely stupid source that makes no logical sense and is only there to bolster that viewpoint, and it's the only one out there on the internet. Like, it is far from perfect, and because it has access to the entire internet, it is definitely a scary issue as to whether or not it's going to be being manipulated. It will likely end up with people manipulating it. That is just the way that these sorts of things work. They will end up having manipulation occur. The question is how bad that manipulation could get in the future, right? Like, I could very easily see a way where someone is able to manipulate a Bing prompt into citing a source that they create on the internet that says that someone has done this horrific thing, and then publishing it on the internet. And they just publish it with a link to their source, but they don't actually show the source. And all of a sudden, because it comes from Bing and it got a cited source, it makes it a lot more believable for people. That's scary. Like, if people want to use this for malicious purposes, they will figure out a way how to. We've seen it with ChatGPT. It will happen. So that's kind of like literally just bullet point benefits. Quick, efficient, can give you accurate answers. Drawbacks? Can give incorrect information. Currently on a wait list only. If looking for Microsoft Bing, ChatGPT doesn't get access to live web results. Bing's access to live web results can lead to it giving completely incorrect answers, and can be fairly easily manipulated regardless of whose it is. Like, that's basically the rundown. Now, let's just really quickly talk about Google, because I just want to kind of discuss what theirs is, because theirs is a very different product that also appears to just be completely factually incorrect. So Google have kind of announced, I don't know what the right word is for this, because they've done it in such a weird way. It's not how anyone thought it would be done. Basically, Google have announced Google Bard, basically their answer to ChatGPT and Microsoft Bing with GPT integration. And what it is it's basically the same thing. It's a large language model. It does all the same cool stuff. However, Google, because they're Google, decided when they made it that they wouldn't fact check their demos. And so Google Bard...
I don't know, but I found these results on the mic's off.
I have a Google Home in here. I completely forgot about that. I'm going to leave that in because that is a funny goof. Anyway, so it got the information completely incorrect. Like, it said that the James Webb Telescope was the first to take a photo of a planet that's not in our solar system, or an exoplanet, I think is what it's called. But that's incorrect. The first one was taken in, like, I think it was 2004 by a very large telescope in Europe or something. I can't remember the exact details about it, but it got it completely wrong. And Google's stock has tanked by $100 million because they didn't fact check the information properly. However, there's also a grain of truth to what was said in there, right? Like, it was the first telescope to take a photo of a specific planet. And if it was talking about a specific planet and it was just worded incorrectly, then Google have just lost stock for no reason. But the fact is that the way it is phrased is that the first one to take a photo of a planet outside our solar system sounds like it's the first one to take a photo of a planet outside of our solar system, when that is factually incorrect. Like, that statement is factually incorrect. And that's where another issue with this sort of thing comes up. All of these large language models, ChatGPT, Bing, they have an issue with grammar, right? We as humans have an issue with grammar, and they have that same issue because they are learning from us. So, whilst it could be interpreted as correct, if you take it at face value, the exact word for their exact meaning, it is incorrect, which also shows how just because it says something doesn't mean that that's actually what it's trying to say. Also, I put the exact same prompt that I was given to Google. I put that same prompt into ChatGPT, and I got the same comment about the James Webb Space Telescope, about it being the first one to take a photo of a planet outside our solar system. So, like, it's not like it's impossible for this to happen with ChatGPT or with Bing. I haven't searched it with Bing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gave me a similar answer. The fact remains that this is, once again, not perfect technology. And just because you Bing something, or you Google it, or you GPT it, doesn't mean that you shouldn't also be checking it up, double check it with someone else, double check it with a source on the internet. Don't trust these things blindly. The AI wars are amazing, and I think it has a really big chance at revolutionizing how our home assistants work, how we search the web, just how we use computers in general. But we also need to be careful about how much leverage, how much room we give these companies to maneuver, because they are very dangerous pieces of technology if used in incorrect ways or if used with purpose to harm. And it gives people a chance to do that sort of thing, and it's at their fingertips. And we need to be careful about that. So that is it for the AI topic. I'm just going to quickly mention a couple of other things. I'm going to mention Apple, Google, and Samsung real quick, just because they all deserve a shout out for other stuff as well. So Apple, we got the iPhone 14 lineup. Yay! Long story short, they've actually started to downgrade what they give people. If you're on a base iPhone 14 or iPhone 14 Plus, you get the same processor that was in the Pro and Pro Max models of the iPhone 13, instead of the chip that is in the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, which is a new piece of silicon. Meanwhile, Apple is still charging the same price for their phones. They haven't lowered their pricing, or I don't think they increased it either, but like, it's not like you're getting a discount for them using pre-existing silicon, basically. The Pro models also have this thing called the Dynamic Island. It's basically, instead of a notch, it's this piece of interactable screen that shows you notifications and media stuff, status, and where charging, I think. Really cool, but it's also been very easily ported over to Android, as almost anything can be. So the uniqueness of that has kind of gone away as things have developed in the Android space, just the way that Android works with modularity. I don't have to have an iPhone to have that feature unless I'm on an iPhone that's not one of the two most expensive newest iPhones. Apple then also released new Macs. They've got a couple new MacBooks. I think it's a new MacBook Air and base level MacBook. Let's do a quick search though. Apple MacBook Air. I believe it was a MacBook Air, but I could be wrong. I know they released a new M series chip. I believe it was an M2 with I believe it was still with the M2 processor. Yeah, it wasn't MacBook Air, I believe. By the looks of things. Yeah, it was an M2 MacBook. So Apple released an M2 MacBook Pro with a Pro and Max chip this year by the looks of things. I'm just going to go onto Apple's website to make sure I got this correct. Yeah, so the MacBook Air, you've got an M2 chip variant that was released earlier this year. That comes in at a starting price of £1,250. But it does have a new design with a notch. So you do get an upgraded design philosophy. You also have the MacBook Pro, which has the M2 Pro or M2 Max chip. That starts at £2,150. It comes in 14 inches or 16 inches. And then finally, you have the M2 Mac Mini from £650, which is actually a lower price than the M1, which doesn't really make sense for Apple to be doing, but hey, that's what they've done. That has the M2 or the M2 Pro chip. No M2 Max variant at the minute, probably because that will likely be restricted. So M2 Max and M2 Ultra, I'm guessing. Those two will probably be restricted to the Mac Studio lineup if they continue with that. They've released one of them so far. They could release more. It starts at £650 and it goes up to a base price of £1,400. That's without other add-ons that you could probably add in there as well. For example, if you go to the higher than spec model and then you upgrade it, you can actually end up paying, if you include everything, including the software, you would end up paying about £5,023 for the top spec Mac Mini with Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro pre-installed. If you take those two out, then you're paying only £4,600. It's pennies. No, it's very expensive. As always, it's Apple. What do you expect? In other tech news, Google have released the first developer preview for Android 14. It has a few cool new features. There's not too much that's user-facing yet, obviously. The way the developer previews go, these are the ones that start the API level changes, which one of them is actually quite good for developers. It's better for side-loading apps or installing apps outside of a Play Store. Massive thing that's been going on with these companies like Apple and Google, allowing people to install apps from outside of their own stores. Obviously, once again, I will mention it is there on the on Android. I have done it with multiple apps, and I quite frankly don't see why they're saying it can't be done, because it's very easy to do if you know what you're doing, which frankly I think is how it should be. I don't think it should just be like, hey, download it. I don't think Google should just be like displaying a prompt. Hey, download this random app that's not verified. Like, I don't think that's fair. I think same as when you're on a computer, it should be the exact same as when you're on PC. You have to search for the app and you have to install it. The responsibility is on you to go and find the apps to download it, but it should be an option. And Android currently gives you more options than Apple does, although saying that it's a very low bar. But there are also improvements coming to this in the future. So app stores will be able to automatically update applications and stuff. Cool stuff. Probably should have dynamic dive done into it, side loading. I will do one at some point, again, probably in July time. Google last year also released the Pixel 7 series, basically just the upgrade over the Pixel 6 series. Really cool. Also, their first watch, the Pixel Watch. Wow, how did I not mention this? I've been using it for a month. It's an amazing watch. I was on a Galaxy Watch 4 before. I don't get what everyone's saying about the battery life. Like, I have always on display turned on, and I have like all the features that I think I can turn on, turned on, and it's fine, honestly. Like, I would say that I'm not, like, I do a fair bit of exercise and it doesn't seem to be like draining drastically for me. So, like, I charge it overnight. Yeah, that's nothing normal for me, unusual for me, sorry. I did that with my Galaxy Watch as well. But it easily makes it for a whole day for me. Like, I don't see where the issue is with it not making it for a whole day personally. but hey, that's what people are saying. And of course, Samsung have released the S23 lineup. Just really quickly, the S23 lineup includes a Snapdragon chip globally. There are 3 models: S23, S23 Plus, and S23 Ultra. They're all available, I believe, sometime. Pre-orders end in 1 day, so it's available. Yeah, it's available from tomorrow. Okay. So the S23 series launches tomorrow by the looks of it. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that is everything. Yes, it was a bit rushed. There's a half an hour time limit on how long I can record for. My name is Luke. This is Dynamic Digital World. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in July with the next episode.